G'day, it's Roger from Verti Gro. Today we're going to show you how to put together one of our eco farms. This is the solar system. This is how it'll come to you in a nice solid box. So we've got our block of coir, which is our 70-30 coir, solar panel, heavy duty aluminium lid. Inside the tank we have a choice of nutrients. Normally you will choose this as you purchase it, so we'll go through that in a minute. Got our solar pump, a few fittings, a dripper head, got our drippers, got our planters, pipe supports, and our feed tube. Plus we've got our heavy duty base tank. This is 5mm thick heavy duty food grade poly. It'll last forever. You'll notice in one side we've got our sight glass so that you can tell when the tank's full or empty and when it needs to be topped up. On the other side we've got our drain valve. This is so that you can do your water changes. It's got a fitting there that you can run that water off to other plants and reuse it. So it just makes life very easy for you. So at Verti Gro we use coir. We recommend coir for all growing. It is the perfect growing media. It is made from recycled coconut husk. It holds 70% moisture content and the rest in oxygen. And it is the absolute perfect growing media, and so we highly recommend it. You can use potting mix. We do not recommend soil. So once you've got your block of coir out, you'll notice it's got some real chunky pieces and some coarse pieces in it, and that's what makes this mix so good. It's a 70-30 mix, 70% coarse and 30% chunky. So for one 5-kilo block, you're going to need about 20 litres of water. So just pour plenty of water into it. Doesn't matter if you overwater it. It'll dry out later on once you've used it. So we'll just chuck plenty of water in there. And then you can just leave the block and just let it soak for a while. You don't need to do anything to it. It'll do its own thing. The block of coir will just soak in all that water and it will loosen up, and then you'll be able to just crumble it up with your hands and it'll be ready to go.
And now the coir is all broken down. It's ready to be installed into the pots. It's nice and loose, not too wet, not too dry. Just a nice gentle mix.
Alright, we'll start putting it together. So best thing is to get your tank located where you want it in a nice solid level position. So first things first, we'll get our pipe work together. So you've got a pipe with a fitting on one end and plain tube on the other. So feed the plain tube through the open end of the pipe, get it to the other end, slip a joiner onto it, pull some more pipe through, slip another joiner onto it and connect it up into that socket. It's pretty easy to do. I can do it with one arm, so I'm sure you can do it with two. So then that'll pull down, sit level in the top there, and then we'll slip the last piece on. Just slip it in, just push it in. Now you will need to give this a bit of a push to get those sockets all to join together. Don't need to hit it or belt it, but that gets it to the right length. So now you've got that ready to go. So from the fitting end, push through and expose the pipe out the other end. And that's what's going to join onto your pump. So your pump comes all set up, ready to go. All you need to do is get the pump and push it on, and that's done. That's ready to go. So now, just check that when you push that down and it sits nice and snug, like that, that fitting should be just sitting out of the top. That's exactly where we want it. Okay. locate the pump just roughly in the centre of the tank for now. It's not too important just yet. And just let that sit there. Get your lid. And you'll notice that in one side of the lid is a hole in the corner. And that's the hole that your lead comes up through. So we're going to feed that through that corner hole, like that. And just pull that cable through. Okay, when you've got that roughly done, sort of caught up there, we're just going to drop that over the top of that pipe. And again, for those of you with two hands, it'll be a lot less clumsy than when I'm doing it. Now pull the lead clear through. Drop that down. That'll sit in the centre. And there's your lead ready for your connection of your solar panel. So we'll just sit that to the side for the moment. Okay, there's two ways of filling your planters. One is a nice, clean, quick way where you actually fill the planters with the coir while they're on the ground, and then you slide them over the pipe. It's a nice, clean, easy way to do it. The one thing you've got to do when you slide your planters over the top of the pipe is to get a plastic bag or a bit of glad wrap, something like that, and slip that over the top of the pipe so that you're not filling the water pipe with coir. So just grab an old bag, slide it over, and that'll get you out of trouble. So we're going to show you both ways to load the planters today. So firstly, we'll preload a couple of planters with coir. So here we've got the coir that we've made up earlier, and it's ready to go. So basically just sit there and throw it in. You don't have to pack it down. We don't want you to pack it down. Just nice and loose. The water will do that job for you. You'll notice at the top of the planter there's a little lip area, a little ledge. That's the level to bring your coir up to. You don't need to go higher than that, because that's where your next planter is going to sit on top. So just fill that up. Nice and loose, don't pack it in. You can top it up later. Alright, so that's done. So now just lift it over the top. Drop it through the hole. And there's your first planter on. Next one, exactly the same. Just fill it up. If you've got a helper to help you, you can have them all pre-filled if you want to go this way. But this way you're not making a big mess over the top of your tank, and you don't have to clean it off and worry about blockages so much. So we'll just keep filling those up. Each block of coir will do 5 large planters, and that's exactly what they're designed for. And then we can top them up with any excess at the end. So there's the next one on. Straight over, spin it round, and just sit it straight on top. And that's it, perfect. Alright, we'll keep going. Our standard unit has 5 planters. Because of our new design and construction, we can actually build these up to 7 or 8 high, whereas the original ones we couldn't. The tanks weren't strong enough, the lids weren't strong enough. So in the future, these will be able to be ordered with 5 planters, which is standard, up to 8 planters. Some of that depends on wind conditions and things like that, so sometimes you have to have a consideration about where it's going and whereabouts you're putting it. So that's how easy it is. And again, we'll top those up when we're done. The other way you can do it is you stick the planter on top, and then you just fill it from there. Now, you can do it easily enough that way. I often do it that way, but you'll drop a bit more coir around, you'll make a bit more mess. So you can do it whichever way you want. So we'll keep going, we'll get that one full. Try not to spill it all over the place. Put a drop cloth around if you want to. You'll see there's plenty of coir to fill them. The coir we use is a 70-30 coir. It's nice and thick and chunky, and it grows a lot better than the very fine, sawdusty types of coir, which we trialled the first year we were involved, and it just wasn't anywhere near as good. So there you go, that's how to do it that way. So I'm going to go back and finish this one off quickly. Remember, just fill them up to that edge, up to the lip. Doesn't need to be any more than that. Plenty of coir in there, there's plenty of room for the plants to grow. Packing it in harder and tighter isn't going to make it better. In fact, it'll reduce the flow of water and nutrients and make it harder for the roots to grow. So just nice and level like that. This being the top one, you can actually go a little bit more because there's no more planters going on top. And we'll finish it off when we're done. Okay, that's it. Remove your bag. And now you've got no rubbish inside it to block up the pump or get caught in the pipe. Just use your extra coir for any that are a little bit low now, because now that you've stacked them, you can finish it off. They're just about out of coir and all the pots are full. Okay, so just top them up like that, pat it down, and you're ready to go. Now, we've got our nutrients. So, as you know, we've got our hydroponic nutrient, our A and our B. We also have a controlled release nutrient, which we offer as an option prior to you purchasing. We also have an option of Verti Superfly, which comes included in the kit, if you choose that option in the future. So today we're going to build this system as a hydroponic A and B. If you ordered a controlled release nutrient, what you need to do is mix the controlled release nutrient in with the coir prior to loading the pots. And if you're using Verti Superfly, you also need to mix the Verti Superfly in with the coir and in with the controlled release nutrient prior to locating the pots. You don't pour it on top afterwards. You mix it in while you've got it in the tank or the barrow, and then you bring it in already pre-mixed. Today, we're not going to use those. Today, we're going to do the A and B. So the A and B hydroponic nutrient is a very powerful concentrated nutrient that gives you the best growing results. All right, so now with the hose, what I normally do is give this a rinse down, and that'll clean all your pots up for you. It'll wash your coir in. It'll wash some of the rubbish out of the coir, the little fine pieces, and it beds your coir into position. So just give it a wash like that. Don't worry about the water. Don't worry about the excess. That'll all get sorted out later on. And that cleans it up. Okay. So open this little valve here, and we're going to add some water to it and drain it. So we're just going to put some water in and let it flush through. And in this case, we probably won't worry too much. We're just going to do it so that we can show you. Normally allow it to flush through and drain for a little bit, and then shut it back off. Now you just need to let it fill, and we're just getting some water in there. Okay, so I've got Cam giving me a hand. Now on this little clip for the solar panel pump connection, can only go in one way. There's a flat side, so it's quite simple. I struggle with it, only having the one arm, so Cam's going to put that together for me. It just pushes in, then there's a watertight gland that just screws up and that water seals it. If ever you want to disconnect the panel to turn it off for a period of time, just undo that, pull them apart, and that'll disconnect the power for you. So what we want to do now is we just want to flush the pipe work out. Not that we should have got anything in there. There's not much sun here today, so I'm just going to move across, hold it up to the sun, and there it is flushing. Alright, let it run for a few seconds and that's enough. So that's just enough to get it working. Okay, so now we're going to put the dripper head on. So it just screws on, just nice and gently. Doesn't need to have any great amount of pressure to hold it there because you may need to take it off later. So that's just perfect like that. Aim it across and I'll walk across to the sun again. Unfortunately, we're in a bit of shade here. What we normally recommend is to run that for about a minute before you put the drippers on, just to make sure that there's no loose pieces of coir lodged in the system. But we're going to accept that that's okay. So now that that's done and ready, I'm just going to slip that back off. And the last piece of the puzzle is our 4 dripper heads. The last job, now that we've flushed the pipe, is to fit the drippers to the 4mm tube. So Cam's going to show you that they just push on. They're quite tight, but just give them a push and a squeeze. You just push all 4 drippers on. If you find it too hard, you can just heat the hose up with a little bit of warm water and push them on, and that'll make it a lot easier. It's one of the jobs I struggle with a little bit. We'll get all 4 of those on. Okay. Alright, now we can screw that dripper head back on top of the tower. So now that they're all connected, the pipe's been flushed, we can now screw the dripper assembly back on. Just nice and loose. Doesn't need to be tightened up too hard. That's it. Just like that. Spread the drippers so that they're aiming out. And I'll see if I can pick up the sun again. And we'll get that dripping. There it is. And that's all the water you need on this system to keep it fully watered, middle of winter, middle of summer. Okay, so the last job is now to add some of the concentrated nutrient to the tank. As we explained before, because we're using seeds and seedlings, we're only going to put 150ml of A and 150ml of B into the 60-litre tank. So just measure it out fairly accurately. 150ml of A, pour it in down through the top hole, just on the plate, and 150ml of B. And that's it. That'll now circulate water through, and that will do you for the first month until you change the water and add new nutrient, and then you can bump it up to 300ml of A and 300ml of B. So there's one of our eco farms. This is in the charcoal, which is 100% recycled plastic, and ready to plant.